What's shaking, everybody? We're back. It's another edition of the Orange Bloods Texas Football Channel. I'm Geoff Ketchum. No Anwar, no Jason Sukumel, no nobody, just me breaking down the news late Monday night that Texas has picked up a commitment from a guy that I think might just end up being the best guy in this entire recruiting class at this point. He's from Louisiana. The Longhorns dip into the boot and grab Donaldsonville defensive end J'Mond Tapp, a mid-four-star guys in the Rivals.com rankings, number 112 in the country in the Rivals rankings, the number 5 weak side defensive end, and the number 10 overall player in the state of Louisiana. Big day for Texas. There's just no other way to put it. They pick up a commitment earlier in the day from Jaray Bledsoe, and to pick up Tapp later in the day means the Longhorns have picked up arguably outside of Malik Murphy, who's probably the best physical prospect in this class. He's still the highest rated in terms of the Rivals.com rankings. And, I think he's like a national top 50, top 60 guy at this point. I can't even remember what his last ranking was in the updated rankings that Rivals did last week, but he'll be the number 1 guy. And I think Bledsoe officially is the number 2 guy in the right. He's the second guy that Texas has a commitment from in the Rivals 100. Tapp is just outside of that area at 112, but we're talking about a borderline elite level prospect. 6'3", 240 pounds, kind of reminds me of a young Sam Acho. A little bit of a dated comparison, I suppose, but similar size, similar build. And I think the thing that really stands out to me about Tapp, 2 things. One, he's really athletic, but he's a violent kind of athletic. He's not one of these tweener types that, you look at and you say, well, he's got to develop his body and we got to see how he does with the physicality. And at that part of the game, he looks real clean coming off the edge, but what about the other stuff? Tapp is a guy that brings the other stuff to the table in a big way. He's relentless on the field. High effort guy that makes plays all over the field. He's got what I would call chasing speed, chasing athleticism, in the sense that no matter where the ball is, he's athletic enough that he can chase the action down. I think he needs some work in the world in terms of being coached into pass rush moves if he ends up being an edge rusher for the Longhorns, which is where I would project him to end up. Although he's a guy that can certainly play strong side linebacker in the way that we're watching Ovio Oghofu at this point do, where he's both a backup and competing for starting reps at the edge, but also a Sam linebacker when the Longhorns go to a 4-3 look. Tapp is a guy that puts his hand on the ground. He is kind of he is a defensive lineman, but I think that he's a guy that you could play in a stand-up technique when it's all said and done. That's the type of athleticism that I think he brings to the table. The Longhorns were able to get a commitment from Tapp. When I think, even myself, look, in terms of our future casts, I've had Tapp tapped for LSU, or that he tabbed. I've had him projected to end up at LSU for a couple of months now. And I think that was kind of the general consensus in the entire recruiting industry. When I had heard that the Longhorns had been even making a big impression on Tapp, I was like, okay, but LSU, the SEC, I wonder if this is a commitment that's made possible by Texas going to the SEC, because before that happened about a month ago, this is exactly the kind of guy with exactly the kind of profile where you would think to yourself, I don't know, is he going to go play in the Big 12 when he has SEC options? That the Longhorns are now an SEC option, I think, may be giving us an idea of what Texas might be able to do at the end of the year in recruiting, and how big of, I think, a development that move is. They don't get Jamon Tap if the Longhorns are not in the SEC. I'm convinced of it. This kid's committing essentially right at the beginning of his senior season. That was not something that was about to happen before Texas moves to the SEC. So I think that is already paying off a little bit. And again, I think if you're Texas today, you're feeling really good because almost out of thin air, you have kickstarted what looks like a little bit of momentum. That's two players, one ranked, I think, top 81, maybe number 81 in the country earlier today from Bledsoe, 112 with Tapp. And that's essentially two Rivals 100 level prospects that when you began the day, you had one. Now you've got three. And maybe the Longhorns have a path to a top 10-ish recruiting class when it's all said and done. I've been thinking that this thing's headed towards 15-ish. I don't know. I don't personally believe that there's a big difference between 10th and 15th. I mean, really, at that point, count how many 5-stars and high 4-star level players you have. That's how good of a recruiting class you've had, because the difference between a bunch of mid 4-stars and low 4-stars, and even at that point, high 3-stars and mid 3-stars, they're all kind of the same at that point. We're talking about really fine margins in terms of one guy has an 80% failure rate of getting to the NFL, and another guy has maybe 85% of a failure rate. You're still talking about missing 4 out of 5 times at best when you start talking about that level of 4-star guy. Tapp is currently rated as a mid 4-star guy. I think he's one notch. I think he's not in the 5-star category for me. He's not quite that kind of an athlete, but he's absolutely a high 4-star guy for me. I would put him in the elite category that projects him to be kind of a 35 to 40% chance of making it to the NFL at the next level. The fact that he's over, even at this point, 240 pounds, takes him out of the tweener category. And typically those are the defensive ends that end up panning out at higher success rates in terms of styles of defensive end prospects that go to the NFL. He fits the profile physically of a guy that has a much better chance of ending up an NFL level player than someone who's under 225 pounds and maybe shorter than 6'3". So again, it's a big commitment. It's a big commitment. Bo Davis has had himself quite a day. The Longhorns up to 20 commitments overall in the 2022 class. And, you wonder with the discussion of the rule changes in NCAA football, where the 25-man number may be obsolete in less than 12 months, do they have 5 guys left in this class, or do they proceed with the idea that there's not going to be a 25-man number, even if that's not official yet? It'll be interesting to watch. They're creeping up. 5 spots left, and unless the rules change, you'd be including transfers next year in the offseason into the 5 spots that are left. Things are getting tight. Anyway, look, that's enough analysis for now. You can go over to orangebloods.com, take advantage of our free trial, and get yourself on the site for more Jamon Tap analysis should you want it. We'll have more stuff tomorrow. I didn't even say it. Hey, give us a like, subscribe to the channel. It's like creeping up on 10 o'clock here, and I'm doing these videos because I want you to have this. Hook a brother up with a like and a subscription. Do it all right now. I'm gonna wait for you. You can do it right now. Okay. For myself, because I'm the only person on this one, thank you for watching. We'll do it again tomorrow. You guys have a good night and a good day, depending on when you watch this. Later.